Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully, I'm live right now. Give me 1 second while I do this. All right, all right. So to you, and yes, you even that is watching the replay of this presentation. Listen, welcome, and I just want to tell you thank you for tuning your attention to this presentation that I'd like to declare I concur is the gospel. Well, listen, so fate has granted us this opportunity to prepare a great historical moment. The opportunity to prepare to create a great historical moment that's going to be able to enlighten our present as well as the future to come. So allow me to really just take a deep breath really for a second here. Okay. So help me welcome with the clapping of your hands and the stomping of your feet, the iconic, the living legend, Dr. A.Jeffrey LaValley. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How's everybody doing tonight?
Man, listen, this is so much of an honor. So, listen, with all sincerity, I want to first and foremost tell you thank you so much for your seen and unseen labor and dedication to the field of gospel music. Listen, you have impacted time, and you've definitely been an inspiration throughout time. And I want to tell you thank you, literally, and you know I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
Bless you, man. Thank you. Thank you.
You are so welcome. So, literally, let's I like to say this. Let's take a musical icebreaker intermission, and we'll be right back. And yeah, and here we go. See you. LaValley, Lord have mercy. That's just a lot going on there. You you are so amazing. I just thank God for your gift.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Listen, so like your musical uniqueness has mesmerized the multitude of gospel music, and that's kind of where I want to kind of dive this presentation and target just your indulgence in gospel field of gospel music. But we must start with the preliminaries. So could you just give us your beginning? Like how did this start? And you must go back to the Wisconsin community choir. That's why I put that at the end.
Well, when I was 5, my parents bought my sister a piano, and I would go with my sister to piano lessons. And Bishop Milton Perry used to come to our city to run revivals. And at that revival, one particular night, he called my mom out. She was holding me. And he prophesied to her and said that that young man is going to be a musician that's going to minister to the world. And my dad said, well, my son will never play the piano, never. My dad was killed on August the 3rd, 1958, in a train truck accident. And I started playing in September. My mom said that my sister was practicing her piano lesson. And all of a sudden, one song just kept going over and over and over and over for about 45 minutes, and she got sick of it. So she was going in to tell my sister to stop, and it was me. And from that day forward, I've been playing ever since. The Wisconsin Community Choir actually was the Wisconsin State Choir, Northwest Wisconsin State Choir of the Churches of God in Christ,
Okay.
and Southeast Wisconsin State Choirs of the Churches of God in Christ. And we came together as just the Wisconsin State Choir because they were bringing the National Music Convention that we used to have to Milwaukee. So we came together as a group to facilitate the conference. And we liked each other so much that we didn't want to break up.
Wow.
So we decided that we would stay together, and our bishops were totally against it.
Wow.
Both bishops were totally, as a matter of fact, both of our state ministers of music lost their positions because the bishop said no and warned them that if they continued to do so, that they would have to let them go. So for, I guess, about a year, they would schedule a convocation and the workers meeting at the same time. And the churches weren't far away, and we were all too young, pretty much too young to drive. Those that could drive would drive. So we'd run to one church and sing 2 or 3 songs Sunday morning and for the convocation, then run to the other church and sing 2 or 3 songs for their convocation, then run back to the other church to finish out the service. We did that for about a year.
Wow.
From convocation to workers meeting. And finally we decided, well, we're just going to stay together no matter what you guys decide. And my godfather, Frank Johnson, the late Frank Johnson, and brother Lamont Allen, who is still alive and in Racine, Wisconsin, changed the name to the Wisconsin Community Choir. And that's where I got my start.
Wow. So how many projects did you record with them? Because I believe, is there 3 albums? I know, was the
3.
first one in 67 or was it?
Telling the World was the first one. I was
Okay.
14 years old.
Okay.
Then we had The World Behind Me, The Cross Before Me. I was 16 years old. And Going Up to Glory, I believe I had just turned 18 that year.
Wow. So you did all 3.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, before I forget, because we did have Reverend Ernest Davis Jr. In that collage,
My buddy.
could you? I gotta know. Can you please just paint an image? Just how was he like? I never got a chance to meet him, and his music is definitely living on.
Ernie was a wonderful guy with a wonderful personality, but when it came to music, Ernie did not play. He wanted it right. And if it wasn't right, he was going to work on it until he got it right. And through him, I met Champ, Willis Hickerson, and Howard Kennedy, Ron Burrell. I met all those guys. Zach Williams from A1.
Oh, wow.
I met all those guys through Wilmington Chester. I met Lucretia Campbell.
Oh,
Mabel, we
wow.
called her through Ernie Davis. And our friendship, we met at a Jeff Jacobs workshop. That's where we met. And our first session that we worked together on actually was not Wilmington Chester, but it was the Imani Choir out of Washington, D.C.
Oh,
Ernie and I
wow.
worked that session together. But Ernie was a wonderful guy, wonderful guy.
Wow, wow. So that leads up into another musical intermission. We'll be right back. I just want to play this because this is going to be the segue to our next little portion here. So hopefully you all are enjoying. Show Brother Jeffrey LaValley some love. Put some hearts on the screen. All right, here we go. Jeffrey, you ought to have something to say about that. Jeffrey, you ought to have something to say about that.
Testify. Sounds good to me. Hallelujah. I want to ask you a question. Who is the one that can bring the sun when your skies are filled with gray? Who is the one that has all power to wash all your sins away? The Lord. The Lord. Yes, sir. Strong and
When your burden press you down, almost knock you to the ground, and you feel there's no one to help you stand. Just remember in His word how He feeds a little bird. Take your burdens to the Lord and leave them there. Give it to Him. If you give it to Him, He'll bear it. Just give it to Him. Yeah. Why don't you give it to Him? He'll share it.
When your burdens press you down.
So it is like literally amazing sometimes. I don't know. I guess I'm speaking for you to kind of look back and see, where you've had your foot in. Sometimes you don't purposely forget, but sometimes it's been so much. But I like to kind of dig and like show you like not just
You
the
dug.
popular,
You
not just the notable things or compositions that you touch lives, but it's those very small ones. I'm not using that word as in literally small, but as its reach. I want you to know that those particular indulgence, it reaches the same, and it reaches a strategic set of people. So I just want to tell you, thank you so much again, and I'm gonna embrace you while I have this opportunity because, tomorrow's not promised. So I just want to continue to embrace you. So listen, so not in chronological order or anything like that, but I kind of want to dive into your original composition. So of course, we just played that particular song, and of course, we heard you playing with the O'Neill twins. So could you just go for what you know, like whatever's on the top of your head or whatever comes to mind? Just tell us about some of those original compositions.
Well, the O'Neill twin session was a wonderful opportunity, thanks to Milton Bigham.
Oh wow!
Uh, most, as a matter of fact, most of the Milton kept me working.
Hmm.
I have to give him credit. He kept me working. We met at the Myrna Summers I Found Jesus and I'm Glad session, and he wasn't even working. He had just started working for Savoy. He wasn't the producer of that session. John Daniels
Mm-hmm.
produced that session, and even Myrna and I, our relationship. I mean, people talk about God's timing, and it really was God's timing. And here we go back to our roots. Both of us were Kojic, and we were at the. It was a Saturday afternoon. I'll never forget it. At the Church of God in Christ Music Convention. It was in Detroit at Bailey Cathedral, and Myrna was singing her composition, her arrangement of "I Surrender All" as a solo, and one of the nation's best organists was on the organ, but she didn't know the chorus. And when Myrna got to the chorus, it threw her because she didn't know what to play, so she just stopped. And I was sitting by the piano, a few rows back, and I just eased my way up to it because that was actually my favorite song off that composition. And Henry Davis played the piano on that song, on that particular session. And I had studied, I mean, when I say I had studied that like I was going to get a grade on it when I got to heaven. You know, I really wanted to. And when it got to the chorus, I sat there, and when the other musician couldn't get it, I eased up to the piano and I started playing it. And Myrna looked over at the piano. She nodded her head. I nodded back at her, and we went forward. We didn't exchange information or anything. And that particular year, the workshop was in New York. And
What year is this now?
1975.
Okay.
The year was in the workshop was in New York at Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
And here again, it was God's timing. She was doing the "Oh How Precious," and this was the second recording of it. And she asked me if I would play the organ. She remembered me from Detroit. I said, sure, I would. And I played the organ for that session. And here again, we leave with no communication, no phone number, no nothing. You know, and I wasn't the kind of, at that time, I was so young, I didn't, I wasn't running after doing work. I never did. And God has blessed me to the point where I've never had to ask anybody, well, can I play for your session? Or can I write you a song? People have always come to me.
Right.
But we no communication. But one of my friends that sang in the mass choir had my information. And when she got ready to record "I Found Jesus and I'm Glad," she called me. And that was the beginning of our relationship.
Wow.
And that's why I met Milton. You're talking 1975, December 1975. So these are relationships that go back to that period of time. Meeting the O'Neill twins, I'm a Kojic baby, of course. Here we go again. So that was the Kojic influence, and I would go to St. Louis all the time with the Wisconsin Community Choir. We were always in St. Louis or Chicago or somewhere, especially on the weekend or Saturday night, and we'd be singing. And that's where I've got most of my connections from through the Wisconsin Community Choir, through the Church of God in Christ, and then I moved to Flint.
Right. Now, what year, I want to document that on this presentation. What year was that you went over there to New Jerusalem?
I've been in New Jerusalem since December 10th, 1972.
Oh, 1972. All right. We're moving right along, man. I just so appreciate this. I'm so enjoying this. So we're going to take another musical intermission, and we'll be right back. Let's see what's next, right?
I'm scared.
Oh, Jesus. Don't do me like that. right. Please don't tell me that's how Sunday morning was over at New Jerusalem. Please don't tell me that's how it was.
Was.
I would have been no more
was.
early.
That, of course, was from the Bobby Jones show. As a matter of fact, that taping and the taping of Wilmington Chester were both done in that weekend.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
Wilmington Chester was on the same show that we were on for Bobby Jones, and then we
Wow.
went. I went with Wilmington Chester from Nashville to Atlanta to tape the video for Air Records.
Wow. That is so amazing. Whew, let me take a deep breath. You know, I just love to really embark on just like learning people's musical journey. I love to embrace people. So like it's just nuggets for me. I'm so appreciative. Now listen, of course we know about your most notable work, Revelations 19. But you know, I don't really want to park there because there's a lot of information out about that particular song. So I kind of want to dive in a little bit more deeper into more aspects of you. But um, um, as I move along from Jerusalem, I want to at least just acknowledge the pastor there and your relationship and how that you begin to grow religiously, musically. Just take a little time to pay homage to your position there.
Well, the Thanksgiving weekend of 1972, one of my friend's fathers had died. And he asked me if I'd come and play for the funeral. I was maybe 18 and a half, 19. And I came up, played for the funeral that Friday. Well, Reverend Floyd was a part of the family. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. But that Friday night after the service, he came to me and asked me to come to choir rehearsal that Saturday. He wanted to check me out and see what I could do. Okay. So I went to choir rehearsal that Saturday. I taught the choir 2 songs. That Sunday morning, they did the 2 songs. And that Sunday afternoon, I was in the office with the chairman of the deacon board and Reverend, asking me if I would consider moving to Flint.
Oh, wow.
And I told him I'd have to go home and ask my mama. And I went and I asked my mama. And in those days, being in the culture church, you had to ask your pastor as well. You did nothing without the permission of the pastor when I was coming up. So I asked my mom, and she told me, you go see your pastor. And I asked my pastor, and my pastor told me no. And I was kind of disappointed. Matter of fact, I was hurt. And my mom said, well, I tell you what, you want to go? I'll pack your bags. 2 weeks later, I was gone.
Wow. Wow. Now there was a shift because you went from a Kojic church to a Baptist church. But one thing that's quite peculiar, and I think that was a fate for you, is that somehow or another, you know how you had those particular Southern Baptist or National Baptist Convention churches that kind of strayed away from their their liturgical background, musical background, and you know they were advanced. And you went to New Jerusalem, and that was a Baptist church that was advanced. We can definitely hear it get the glimpse from the tape we just played. So I think so. Tell me how that transition was. Did you think that you was gonna go to a more laid back, or did you know where you were going?
Actually, I knew from the first Sunday I was there, I knew where I was going.
Okay.
When I got there, New Jerusalem had drums. When I got there, New Jerusalem had bass player.
Okay.
When I got there, New Jerusalem was dancing and shouting. Okay. 1972. When I got there, New Jerusalem was speaking in tongues. 1972. Okay, they're never your typical Baptist church. So I was right at home. As a matter of fact, that January, my mom came to get me to take me back home. And she came to New Jerusalem and she sat there and she sat through the service that Sunday, all month Sunday morning. We had a concert, I believe it was that Sunday night. And Reverend Floyd asked her to have words. She said, well, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I came to take my son home. She said, but as I was sitting here all day watching the service and seeing how you all carried on, she said, this is the place he needs to be. I'm going to leave him here.
Wow.
And she left me there.
Wow. Wow. What amazing. So thanks so much for, I just want to make sure we pay homage to that because that definitely is a huge chunk of your legacy. So I want to make sure we did that. Now, here we go.
Definitely, most definitely, most definitely.
So
Yeah.
so listen, so playing for a range of different artists can be definitely complex, and because a lot of the artists have their own musical signature, and that they feel that they want to be felt through the music as well as conveyed through the music. So how, as a musician, how do you kind of incorporate your own signature uh, in the different platforms when you go to various artists? How do you do that from your
Well,
perspective?
the one thing I've always been taught was if I'm playing for anybody, I have to become them.
Okay.
I have to feel them. I have to be sensitive to them. I'm an accompanist. I'm not the star or I'm not the soloist. I'm kind of giving them the foundation and the freedom to do what they do. My musicianship gives them the freedom to minister. If my musicianship is not present or if my musicianship is all kilter, I can mess them up. So I was always taught to become who you're playing for or with, and it makes it easier on you. So there are multiple personalities living in this head, because I've become something. And really what happens is every one of them remains a part of you.
Wow.
There's
Okay.
there's a piece of everybody I've ever worked with me at all
Wow.
times, musically.
Wow. Wow. I love the way you just stated. I promise you, I'm gonna re-listen to that and like just write it down word for word because I want to study what you just said because there's a lot of importance in what you just said because that's why you be careful who the company that you keep to as well because you don't
Yeah.
want everything carrying along with you because sometimes that baggage can keep you from somewhere that could actually be conducive to you. So you just said a whole mouthful right there. I want you to know you did. So I also want to take this time, well, this moment. Could you help me or share your perspective in developing and the consciousness of progressing as a musician? How do you develop the consciousness and how do you progress the consciousness of a musician from your perspective?
Well, they used to tell us practice makes perfect, but that's not true. When you practice, you're just practicing. You're just improving. You're building. You're working on what you're trying to do. When you become perfect, you're done. Okay. Anybody that says they've reached their apex, they're done. They've lost the capability of learning anything else. And music is a limitless genre. It's limitless. Every day there's something new. So nobody ever learns everything in music. When you've done that, you're dead.
And that's the awareness that's the consciousness that musicians need to understand that it's an ongoing journey. Would say
Ongoing,
okay,
daily.
okay,
Daily. I used to play every day. If it wasn't for 5 or 10 minutes, I would play every day. But I'm 67 years old now, so I might do it every 2 or 3 days. I don't play as much as I used to. But yeah, I used to play every day. When I
wow,
got mad, how most folk when they had a problem or would get into a fight in the neighborhood, they go to fighting. I go in the house and play my piano.
isn't that amazing?
When I get angry now, that's my venting. I go to my instrument and I play,
Wow.
and it
So
calms me down.
where is that been? Is that where that come in at? Where is this from?
This
Yes.
I love babies.
Okay.
Babies like the kind that you can give back to their mama and daddy when you get through with them. I love babies, and when I go to speak to them, that's the first thing I do is hi, how
Oh
you
wow.
doing?
Okay.
Hi. And because that's actually they will do that back.
Wow.
So that's where I got that from. And when I go to play him at the church or something, it's just a habit for me to say, hey, hello. That's my way of saying hello. I
Wow.
don't like to do a lot of talking. I don't that's not me. But when you see me do this, I'm just as happy as a frog in a pond of water. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I was able to document that because I know a lot of people are going to be wondering where did it come from. It's inspirational to me. So I want to ask you this too. I like to ask this question a lot, and I want this to be more. I want people to understand that this is more of a presentation than an interview. That's why I'm leading it on like this. Like this is a presentation. This I concur. This is the gospel. So through all the years, through all of your work, what do you want your music, what do you want your life to convey to time, to eternity? What do you want it to convey?
And I was a cool cat.
Okay. Okay.
I have my issues just like everybody else, you know, but I try to be a good guy.
Wow.
There, especially in the gospel industry, it's different, you know, and it's a whole lot different now than it was when I was coming up. Doors open easier now than they did when I was coming up.
Wow.
Information is dispersed more now than when I was coming up because they didn't tell us we could own our own publishing companies or we had, because that's why how the companies made their money. So they didn't offer that information. You know,
Right.
when I found out I could have my own publishing company, it was over. Okay, they wasn't making another dime off the kid. You know, it's different now than it was. So I want to be remembered as somebody that tried to inspire somebody else to do what I'm doing.
Wow.
That they could have a legacy, you know, not my legacy. They could build on their own legacy, you know, because every tub got to stand on its own bottom, you know. I can help you, but I can only take you so far.
Right. You know, while we here, I thought I did this. Here you go. Let's do this here. Let's take a quick musical intermission because I think that this right here is needed. Yeah, I think this is needed.
Hear the voice of the Lord say, who will work today? For the harvest is ripe. For the harvest is ripe. For the harvest is ripe. But the laborers are few. There's no time for delay. Jesus Christ is soon to come. Better make up your mind. You better make up your mind. Better make up your mind. Hey, say to serve. The Lord said just the same. Say to serve. He wants to spread his word. Say to serve.
Now, I want people to know that you can actually, this is music that you can actually find. And man, that right there now, you know, I'll cry at the drop of a dime. Because when honestly, I just think you wrote that song, right?
Yes.
Where did it come? Like, it's so beautiful and the message is so rich. How did you, what is the genesis of that song?
Actually, it was the title of one of my youth choir's concerts. And Denise Morton was doing a concert in Detroit. And I taught it to her for her to do with her background vocals, which was Gwen Morton, Lydia Wright, and I believe it was Michael Fletcher. They were her background vocals for her concert. And timing was at the concert. And in planning Keith's session, he asked me if he could do the song. Sure. So he called me down to Detroit one afternoon, and they were cutting the tracks. He and Earl Wright were cutting the musical tracks, and he said, "You like that?" Oh yeah, man. What is that? He said, "That's your tune." Say what? That's your tune, man. I mean, it gave it a whole different flavor. Tommy took it to another area, and then New Jersey Mass recorded it the way it was originally arranged
Oh,
on
okay.
the album "I Want to Know What Love Is." So,
Well,
I,
wait. So this came about before oh, so this is the second edition of the song. And so how
actually,
did you
this was the first one. New
this is the
Jersey
first.
Masters came out after this one.
Oh, okay. So how did you kind of get that developed? Did you develop the relationship with Keith Pringle through Tommy Whitfield or no?
No,
Okay.
the first song I wrote for, well, actually, I didn't even write it for Keith Pringle, was True Victory. Uh, yeah, me.
You wrote that? Isn't that the title of one of the albums?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was
That's actually the
that was
first one, right?
that was actually my first title cut from any project I'd ever worked on. We were in workshop together for David Allen in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I taught it there to the workshop choir. And Keith was there, so I asked him, "Man, will you sing this with me?" Because one thing I don't do is I'm really not a singer. I mean, you give me a mic, I can hang for about 2 minutes and I'm done, you know. But I asked Keith if he was singing for me. He said sure. And I guess about 6 or 7 months later, I got a call from Milton and said, "Dude, you wrote a tune here. You got your title cut." Huh? Say, "Yeah, you got a tune here." "Oh, well, what do you mean I got a tune?" He said, "Well, Keith recorded your song." "Oh, what song?" "True Victory." He said, "And dude, you got a tune here. No, it's the title cut of the album." And that was the beginning of my work with Keith Pringle.
Wow. Now, while we right here, because we got to ease this stuff in. Wow, this is amazing how we got down this journey. I concur. It's the gospel. So, how did you get the relationship with the Kingdom Gospel? How did that you right?
With Reverend Cleveland, I had been going to the workshop. I was at the very first workshop. I was a kid.
Are you
I was
serious?
at the very first workshop in '68 at King Solomon.
Wow.
My godparents lived in Detroit, and I was here visiting them. And we went that Thursday night. I'll never forget it because Southwest Michigan was singing, and I was like in heaven, you know, because I had never been in the presence of these people before. I'm thinking, here I am. I never, heard all these names, but never thinking that I would actually be in the room with these people. And I met Reverend Cleveland personally only when Free Spirit came into fruition.
Right.
I had no idea he knew who I was until he walked up to me. We were in a meeting there with Reverend Nix and Jimmy Dow. And he walked up to us, JD and I had stepped out of the meeting. We were talking. He said, "Would you excuse us? I need to talk to LaValley." "Do you want to work with what?" And he said, "I've been watching you for years." And I'm like, "Really? Why?" They said, "And I'm getting ready to do the LA Messengers and a project, and I want you to produce it." And I looked at him and said, "You got to go ask my pastor." That line has always come in handy for substrate. My pastor was in the board meeting for Free Spirit. Reverend Cleveland went in the board meeting, called my pastor out, told him what he wanted, and 2 minutes later, he walked back over to me and said, "All right, your pastor said it was okay. I'll be calling you." Okay. I gave him
Wow.
my information, and I'm thinking, this man not gonna call me. A week later, Reverend Cleveland was on the phone telling me what he wanted me to do. And when I was telling people, well, Reverend Cleveland just called me to produce this project. "Oh, child, you ain't gonna be able to do nothing. He gonna take over. He gonna do everything. He gonna pick all the songs. You ain't gonna be nothing but playing. You might as well just go in as a piano player because he ain't gonna let you do nothing." When I got off the plane to go to do that session, Reverend Cleveland and we got in the car. He said, I hired you to produce this session, and that's what I expect you to do. Now, is you hungry? That's the only time we discussed that session. And he never stepped in. He allowed me the privilege of doing everything. From picking the material. There were a couple of songs that he had written, picking the material, everything, vocal arrangements, musical arrangements. He let me do everything. And in the audience was Edna, the night of the session was Edna Tatum.
Really?
And Rodina Preston. Yeah, they were in the audience for the
Okay.
And afterwards, after the session, Rodina came to me and said, I need to talk to you. Okay. So after I got through finalizing some things, I said, yes, ma'am. She said, what'd you do to him? Beg your pardon? What did you do to him? What do you mean, what did I do to him? She said, I have watched Reverend Cleveland for years. I have never seen him allow anybody to do everything in a session, and he just sit and watch or not do anything. What did you do? Oh, it's easy. I gave him what he asked for. You give him what he asked for, you don't have a problem. And that's what I tried to do. And the next year, I ended up being the concert master for the GMWA.
Wow. You know, it's funny you said free spirit. I might as well bring this up. I think on a phone interview I did with you a while back, I was telling you about an album that I saw your picture on. And you was like, I think you said something that had to have been either New Jerusalem or it was New Jerusalem, right? You said that was the first time right. Now, and then I was like, no, but it was a collage of pictures. I know why I thought I seen your picture is because you're actually on the album. Your picture isn't on the album. That's when the free spirit, that was on SOG. You played for that album. Now it comes to mind when I was because I used to study them. I used to work at New Sound Gospel Chicago, so that's why I thought I saw your picture, but I knew it was related to Free Spirit. Could you talk about Free Spirit for a second?
Free Spirit was a group of churches that were like New Jerusalem, that were like St. James. They believed in the gifts of the Holy Spirit in operation. They believed in the laying on of hands. They believed in speaking in tongues. They believed in, healing of the body. They believed in that. And it was a group of churches that felt the same way we did. So all of these churches were churches that got together, that were pulled together by Reverend Nix. And
okay.
That's how that came about.
Oh, so that was pretty much like his organization.
It was.
Oh, wow. So is it still around or is it disbanded?
Well, no, we disbanded about 2 years after
he died.
About 2 years after he died, okay. And then Full Gospel came into fruition.
Oh, interesting.
After that, and most of the churches that were a part of Free Spirit went right on over to Full Gospel.
Wow, because I remember seeing Reverend James Cleveland picture on the on the cover. But I want to also put this in there. So whoever's watching or when you watching the replay, like if you can, just put in some songs that have inspired you by Jeffrey LaValley or some memories, and hopefully he periodically go back and check, because I just like to present things that has a long-standing effect, and I want this to be able to have a long-standing effect. So go back to it, enjoy this. But I forgot to mention the other choir that you was playing for. We need some history on there. Is it the what is it? I want to pronounce it right. The song I played that you wrote and sang. What was that? The what is it? Elijah. Okay, yeah. What's the history on that?
Well, there were a local church here, and Bishop Dunlap is a great guy. His daughter, Nuwana Dunlap, sang with Bobby Jones for years.
Dylan.
Yeah. Now you talk about a talented family. Everybody in their family can sing.
So do you know Raymond Dunlap?
I know him very well.
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
All of them are talented. All of them can sing. Mother Dunlap just passed a few months ago.
Yes.
She could sing. Bishop Dunlap wrote a song called, the first song I ever heard them sing was a song he wrote called A Little Bit, But Enough. And Mother Dunlap used to slay us with that song. So Mother Dunlap is the one that asked me if I would put the choir on wax. And actually, that was the first independent production that I had ever done. I didn't know what I was doing, but I did the best that I could with what I knew for that time. And the good thing about it is everything we pressed was sold. So that was a relief.
So that
But
was the Dunlap's church? That was Bishop
that
Dunlap's
was
church?
Bishop Dunlap's church. EBC is Bishop
Okay.
Dunlap's home church. Yes.
Wow. I know, I used to do a TV show back when I started when I was 13. And my first guest that I ever interviewed was Raymond Dunlap.
That's his father.
Hmm. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was the church. That was,
Wow.
and they had an awful lot of talented people in that church.
Wow.
And you talk about dry, they could go all night. They could go and sing and stomp and shout and dance all night long.
Wow.
They
That's
were wonderful people
amazing.
to work with.
Wow. Last but not least, I have to do this for my mentor, the living legend, Dr. Charles Clancy. He wants to know, what was your experience? What was the experience like recording with all the great? Oh, look at you.
Any musician that doesn't have this needs to try to find this book. This is history.
Yes.
History. And
he goes into depth.
there are not a lot of books on the history
Yes.
of gospel music. Gospel music didn't just begin with Kirk Franklin.
Mm-mm.
It didn't begin with James Cleveland.
No.
You could go back. I can guarantee you most of these folks know absolutely nothing about Arizona drains. They don't know about Madam Ernestine Washington. They don't know about these people. And some of the stuff that y'all are singing now is stuff that they sang in the 20s and 30s. Come on here now. Don't get me started on that. Let me stop.
And that's what
Coffee
I'm doing for my generation. Man, when I tell you historian, like, I'm not just one that knows about the contributors of gospel music. I know how gospel music emerged. I go back to the Great Awakenings. I go back to the spirituals, the institution, where these songs, the spirituals was birthed, and, how they became to get their facelifts, and composers like Charles Albert Tilley that was planting the lyrical seeds for what Thomas Dorsey brung rhythmic brung the beat or the syncopation too. So like it's really important to know where we come from, because our spirituals is the foundation. Just because what we did was we took what we heard in these church services and we, came and we put our own type of signature to it, and that's where you got the jubilees from. Although spirituals were really, really kind of sorrow songs, but however, it kind of opened the leeway for people like Arizona Drains that brought about the jubilees, the sanctified church.
Indeed,
Like you said,
the Gay sisters from Chicago, Evelyn Gay and Mildred Gay, those folk, you don't hear much about them, but these are Reverend Charles Taylor. These are people that they don't know who they are. You have to look at it to know where it's really a true statement to say, to know where you're going, you got to know your history.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna drink some tea.
You're not the first one to do what you're doing.
No.
Somebody paved the way for you to get there. Right. Somebody paved the way for me to do what I'm doing. Absolutely. And I nobody could ever tell me that I would have the opportunity to pave the way for others, because I didn't even plan to be a musician all my life. This was not in my plans. My plan was to be on the evening news telling you what the news was. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a broadcaster, but that wasn't God's plan.
Right.
That wasn't his plan. He had a totally different idea for my life.
Wow. And man, that's just hit me, man. Listen, be cautious of where God leads you, or be cautious of the things that happens in your life, because God works by signs. He gives us signs, gives us directions and things of that sort. But sometimes we're so focused on the popularity or what's popular or what's in, we miss our own strategic path. And we all have a strategic path. A lot of times people say, you know, I don't know what my purpose is, you know, blah, 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 blah. But the Bible even, I don't know why we went here, but the Bible even say that your gift will make room for you. So that lets
I
you
was
know
just
that you
getting ready to
got,
say Proverbs 18:16, your gift. It
yes,
says, a
yes,
man's gift maketh room for him
yes,
and
yes.
brings him before great men. But see, our problem is we're so busy trying to make room for our gift and get in the door. I have never, and I mentioned it earlier, I have never asked anybody, can I play for you? Can I write a song for your album? Can I do? No, no, no. They sought me out. Okay. They just saw me working. You understand what I'm saying? They saw me doing what God gave me to do. Okay?
Wow.
And that's what required. They have to see you in action. They don't need to hear your mouth.
Right.
They need to see you in action. You know, and you don't have to, I don't have to like you to work with you or
That's
for
true.
you.
That's right.
You know, you have to learn how to separate the personal and the professional, because the two don't go together.
Wow. Wow.
You have to be able to separate that. You know, I've given up some jobs to friends of mine that needed other things. They needed the session more than I did. So, okay, no problem.
Wow.
You know, it's just, you have to be sensitive to everything that's going on around you.
Right. And then,
Everything.
and also before we move, I just want to add this on to the current to the generation of musicians and artists now. I really want to like drill this in your head that humbleness brings you, it opens up opportunities for you. Now you don't have to be, yes, you can promote yourself, but don't take God's job. You know, let him do his own job by using everybody's face. That gets annoying. You know, just do what God has given you to do with the best in your best ability, and trust me,
Yes, it is.
God will make the paths for you. Because a lot
He
of
will open the
musicians,
door for you every
yes,
time.
and a lot of the artists today, they have this grind. There's nothing wrong with grinding, but make sure there's humbleness in your grind. Make sure when someone see you sing, they can feel where you're coming from. It's more about ministry than the craft or the artistry of what you're doing. I just wanted to say that, and we're moving.
You're right.
I'm sorry about that. But listen, man, I want to tell you, thank you so much for taking the time. Man, and you know, humility, man. Like, I appreciate, man, this is not the first time I've talked to you. This is not the first time I've, you know, had some type of indulgence in finding out about your musicianship and things of that sort. But how humble you are, man. Listen, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being humble. Listen, let me take my I'm so sincere right now. Thank you. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to a lot of people, because there are people that people idolize, but they're in this realm that they're untangible. They're intangible. You know, and what that does is that can cause friction in the growth of people. When you are on a platform and God gives you this glow of this platform, you know, you have power to help others and encourage others, and your attitude can turn people off. So thank you so much for being humble. I appreciate it. All right. All right. So like I always say, you know, love on someone and change a life. And when we as a people are inspired, we do better at aiming towards our goals and our dreams. So of course we're gonna leave with a number. And
I don't know what you get ready to pull out that.
all right, here we go. God bless you all.